The final whistle has gone. That Molyneux, it has finished. Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, West Ham United 3. The Hammers once again surging into a 3-goal lead in the first half. After 6 minutes, it was Lingard who made it 1-0. Great run from the halfway line, a shot across the goalkeeper to put West Ham in front. A lead that was doubled on 14 minutes by Pablo Fornals. Lingard again heavily involved, pulled the ball back from the byline cleverly to Arthur Masuaku, making his first game back since injury, who centred for Fornals, who finished expertly with the side of his foot to make it 2-0. It's 3-0 to West Ham on 38 minutes. Jesse Lingard once again making a long run into opposition territory, playing Jared Bowen in. The substitute had replaced Michail Antonio only 4 minutes earlier. He fired across Patricio to make it 3-0 to West Ham. West Ham in dreamland, but Dendoncker pulled one back just before the break in the final minute of the first half from a Traore cross to give Wolves a little bit of hope that was given real meat on the bones, as it were, in the 68th minute when Silva, the teenager, got on the end of a ball that was played over the top of West Ham's defence. Issa Diop, of course, a little bit out of position, and he fired across Fabianski to make it 3-2 to leave West Ham facing another very nervous last 25 minutes as they faced the prospect of once again throwing away a 3-goal advantage. In the end, it didn't happen. The Hammers clinging on somehow with a depleted team, players running around with injuries and hamstrings and loads of bookings and God knows what, but Rio, sum up what has, after all, been a most entertaining game, if you will. Now we can relax a little bit. The points are in the bag. West Ham are back up to 4th in the Premier League.
I think the word that I use to describe it, Graham, is breathtaking. First of all, in terms of our attacking prowess, 3 terrific goals, superb attacking football on the counter-attack by us. Absolutely amazing performance in the first half by Jesse Lingard. Then the massive turning point, Michail Antonio's injury completely changed the complexity of the game. And we kind of regressed into Sunday League mode. The breathtaking went from being impressed by the way we attack to being horrified by the way we defend. We allowed Wolves far too much time, far too much space. I can't remember us winning a defensive header until the last 3 or 4 minutes of injury time now. Every ball seemed to fall for them in the area, and we're just so lucky that they were so wasteful in front of the goal. It's unreal. They should have won that 5-3, 5-4. And we couldn't have moaned about it because our defensive abilities were, to be quite frank, absolutely abysmal. But we've held on. We've got a vital win. We're back in the top 4. We're clearly punching above our weight. We're clearly going into the weekend's game with a few more injury worries ahead of us. Jesse Lingard pulled a bit of a hammy at the walk towards the end there.
Yeah.
Souček's foot obviously cut. Mikel, we don't know the extent of the reason that he was withdrawn just before half time. So things are looking a bit edgy, but we're still there. We're still in the hunt. It's scary. It's not comfortable, but we're doing it. We're there. We're probably off tonight. God knows how, but we did it. Well done, West Ham. Don't make me go through that again, though, please.
Thank you, Rio. Gnome, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, West Ham United 3. The Hammers back up to 4th in the Premier League. Rio said the defending was absolutely abysmal, but we wasn't bad at the other end of the pitch, were we? Or for the first half, at least.
Yeah. It was just a case of, what was it, the guys? Samuel Goldwyn was famous for mixing up all these metaphors. And I think it was him who's credited with saying it was deja vu all over again. It was so similar to the Arsenal game in that we raced into that 3-0 lead and then just sort of didn't really bother with anything as an attacking force. It wasn't helped. The injury to Antonio was paramount in the way that game went because, excuse me, until he went off, we had an outlet where it was played up to him. He was having a fine game. it was played up to him, he'd either hold it up, play someone else in, or he'd hold it, turn, and suddenly he's beaten 3 Wolves players. And that gives you more of a sort of force and attacking force. Now, I'm hoping it's nothing too serious because, again, we go in, week out about how weak our backup is. But and yeah, Bowen took his goal well, but anything played at Bowen isn't going to stick. He's not that sort of player. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
But it just shows that we haven't got a player that can do that. So yeah, I mean, 3 good goals, 3 well taken goals. There was much to admire in the attacking play, but the combination of Antonio going led to our switching off. Funny enough, though, the second half, after they'd scored, I thought it was slightly better defensively, insofar as, although we were still giving the ball away, the really, really clear-cut chances that they had in the first half had sort of been downgraded to half chances, apart from the goal they got in the second half. It was all sort of shots from the edge of the box, and wasn't stuff that was really testing Fabianski. So it wasn't all bad, but for Christ's sakes, if you go to a 3-0 lead, you don't go and let him 2. Please don't do that. It's just, I'm getting on. I don't need this at my age.
So thank you, Gnome. Some match stats for you. Possession, Wolves 67% to West Ham's 33. Wolves shots 20. There it is again, 20 shots against. It seems to be almost a par for the course these days. 20 shots for Wolves, 5 on target. West Ham only 9 shots this evening, at 6 of which were on target. Much better ratio than Wolves. 4 corners for the hosts, only 2 for West Ham this evening. Both sides committing 9 fouls each. Pinky, we got there in the end, by hook or by crook. We're 4th in the Premier League once again, and it wasn't pretty at times. Well, it certainly was pretty for the first half an hour, but what do you make of that one? Where to start, I guess?
Absolutely, because when you look at the last 2 games, we've scored 6 goals and we've improved our goal difference by 1. And at that rate, we'll need to play for another 3 seasons to actually finish with a better goal difference than, say, Man United. Neither team tonight could defend. Let's be clear about that. The defensive offerings on show from both teams was woeful.
Yeah.
Each club will point to key players being missing. For us, well, what price Declan Rice now? Go on, Mr. Sullivan. I dare you to sell him. I dare you, because that's what you're looking at without Declan Rice. You can go and buy another player who won't be quite as good, but it would be better than what we've got out there tonight. But we really struggled at times tonight against a fairly ordinary Wolverhampton side. Having said that, after 30 games, we've got 52 points and a positive goal difference of 11. How many seasons in the last 30 years have we been able to look at that and say, well, we've done better than that at this stage of the season? Not that many. Not that many. So, looking at the season overall, you could say this is the classic season of going quite well and then the manager running out of bodies. And it's the usual, if people want to know what the West Ham way is, it's that point in the season, usually around February, where the manager starts to run out of bodies, because whoever the board of directors and we've got at the time never have quite enough money to provide any manager we've ever had with a decent enough squad to go a full season. And that's really what we're seeing tonight. That's why when Rice is injured, we haven't got an adequate replacement for him. Mm-hmm. It's why when Antonio goes off, who isn't a striker, we end up playing another non-striker as the striker, and the ball just keeps coming back at us for the next 40 minutes. So what we've really seen tonight is the overall impact of a transfer policy and a club lack of funding that sits squarely at the chairman's door, whereby because he's wasted a lot of money on the Pellegrini watch, he's not willing to put in the extra dough to fund David Moyes' requirements. And David Moyes has to go with the make, do and mend option. Let's not forget we started tonight with 2 on loan players from other football clubs. So we only actually had 9 West Ham United players out there at the start tonight. And you look at the subs that Moyes was able to bring on, not really sort of ones that say Solskjaer can bring on for Man United level. Let's put it that way. So I'll take the win. It's a win. And at this stage of the season, I don't really care if it's going in off Souček's backside in the last minute. You take the win, we're 4th. You've got to be happy with where we are on the table. I'm not happy with what I saw tonight because I don't think we've learned from Arsenal. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we have learned from Arsenal. We just don't have the personnel. And it really is as simple as that. The big debate will be why Ben Rama didn't start again, I'm sure, on the forum. But every time he doesn't start and we win, the manager's decision is vindicated. Because he can just say to the chairman, what was wrong with my team selection? We got all 3 points away at Wolves. Mm-hmm. It's a fair argument.
Yep, fair point. Well, one of the players who was missing tonight was Declan Rice, and Declan Rice has been taken to social media immediately upon the final whistle to say, do not underestimate how big a win that is for the boys. Into the top 4, only 8 games to go. It's a special group, this. Love it. And at West Ham with a little red heart at the end of it. Gnome, over to you.
Yeah, we just had Jesse Lingard giving you an interview there. Usual sort of stuff. It was a tough game. We had to work hard. He did concede that he thought it might be another Arsenal when we conceded for half time. But he said we kept our focus. We came out a little bit better in the second half. It was all about managing the game. He said the goal, it was 2 versus 2, something we work on in training. Mikhail took a man away with his run. And he said there's always room for improvement. And asked about his good form, he said, well, I've not played much in the last 2 years, so playing week in, week out is good, and having the team around helps me. And asked whether or not we can stay in the top 4. He said, well, it's about maintaining, keeping focus. We've got tough fixtures, but we're ready for them. So there you go. He was also asked a little bit about the little bit of a fracas at the end, and it was Wolves moaning at him for keeping the ball down in the corner flag. Why do you play like that? And it's, well, we're 3-2 up with seconds to go. Why the hell do you think is probably the answer to that one? So yeah, just something and nothing really.
Any word on the potential hamstring? I mean, somebody, I think it was Mushy, I believe, who pointed out that he felt it was cramp. It
might well have been, because the way he was stretching, you wouldn't want to be doing that to a hamstring.
No.
Yeah, so he didn't mention it at all. So I'm guessing, hoping that it may not be much more than cramp, because the way he was stretching it, if that was a hamstring, I think the physios would be screaming at him. So, So yeah. But anyway, that was Lingard. I'll get back to you as soon as we get anything from anyone else.
Okay, good stuff. Something I wanted to touch on. Darren Lewis, the journalist, has put a post out to Rio following that final whistle. Interesting points he made. He says that the message that win sends out in terms of being able to win without Declan Rice is massive for West Ham. The last Hammers team to challenge for Europe in the 2015-16 season relied heavily upon Dimitri Payet. This West Ham team relies heavily on team spirit and a willingness to work for each other. Well, what do you make of that? I mean, do you think that shows that West Ham are more than, you wouldn't say that they are a one-man team with Rice, but he's certainly been hugely influential on that side. So what does this result do in terms of sending out a message to the rest of the Premier League, to say that we can win without Declan in the starting lineup?
I think it's a little bit harsh on the 2015-16 side. Yes, we relied a lot on Payet, but there was a lot of team spirit, a lot of unity there. Mm-hmm. A lot of attacking options, and we played exceptionally well. We had a never say die attitude that season. Many times we went 2-0 down and come back to win 3-2, draw 2-2. You know, I think it's a little bit disrespectful to that team. As for tonight, I think it sends out a massive message. There's people I talk to who support different clubs who think we're relying so heavily on Declan and Thomas Souček that without either of them, we're pretty much nothing. We're a team struggling, you know? And we're not as fluent, we're not as cohesive, we're not as, how can I put it, mentally strong at times without Declan. But tonight showed that we can navigate some really, really tough situations and still get through. And I'd like to point out tonight, one of the players who came in for a lot of criticism before the game, club captain, I thought he did a decent job tonight. Didn't put much of a foot wrong. Provided with the comedy moment tonight as well. But he was pretty much exemplary. A couple of stray passes, but every single player out there on the West Ham side was guilty of something that wasn't quite up to scratch, you know? Mm-hmm. So, yes, we missed Declan. We're going to. He's not only West Ham's best player, he's probably England's at the moment. Any side will miss him. But, yeah, in terms of teamwork, unity, mental strength and determination, we've shown a lot tonight. And it does send a message out to a lot of other teams saying, you know what, we're not all about one man. No, we can hold our own. We can try. We can work hard as well.
Okay, good stuff. Pinky, Rio mentioned Mark Noble there briefly in passing. There was a lot of criticism once again for David Moyes for bringing him into the starting 11 this evening. But just a quick look at his match stats: 100% long passes completed, 89% pass accuracy, nine ball recoveries, which is very impressive. 6 final third passes, 4 interceptions. Again, very impressive. More than any other player in that West Ham team tonight. 2 tackles. Big performance from Noble, who, perhaps went under the radar a little bit tonight in terms of, the goal scored. We laughed at that attempted challenge before Wolves' first goal, but some performance from the skipper there. And, he's really put a lot of people right, you'd think, with what he's done out there tonight.
He did enough. I mean, quite how much mobility you're going to get from a player of his age with, that number of miles on the clock. I think most of us know you're not going to get an awful lot, but he did enough tonight to justify his inclusion. I don't think he was the weak link in the team in any way, shape, or form this evening.
Yep.
And again, he's pulled a rabbit out the hat that has perhaps got the chairman off the hook, dare I say it. To go back to the Darren Lewis comments about Rice and our ability to compete without him, I think it's probably fair to point out there might be a perception amongst some West Ham United supporters that particular journalist, who's very good, by the way, might be a bit close to our chairman in terms of understanding how it works at West Ham United. If you're nice to the chairman, you might get to interview a player every now and again, that kind of thing. So I think he's been quite generous towards the club there. He also might be hedging his bets in the sense of there is just an outside chance we could finish in the top 4. And, he wouldn't be the first one to be taking a position, shall we say, that says, told you they could just about do it. And probably having not said very much about us for the previous 30 game or 29 games of the season. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh on Darren there, and he is trying to be generous. But if he's trying to convince us that we didn't miss Declan Rice tonight, well, sorry, mate, you ain't convincing me of that. We missed Rice, and we missed him big time this evening. We got away with it. I would file that result under we got away with it, just. But I'll keep going back to the Arsenal game last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. We play Leicester City this coming Sunday. And currently we're 4 points behind them. If we hadn't dropped those 2 points against the Gunners, we'd have been looking in a position where we could say a win against Leicester and we go above them. That's how expensive those drop points were against Arsenal. An Arsenal Football Club that currently sit in 10th place on 42 points.
Yeah.
So, I don't kind of buy this, we're rock solid and all the rest of it. I think we're in quite a generous fourth spot at the minute. I think we can cling on to it if we have some luck. But I think the individual at the club we depend on more than any other isn't actually Declan Rice. I think at this point in time it's David Moyes, because if Mr. Lewis wants to write a good feature on West Ham United, I think he could do a whole lot worse and seek an interview with our manager and just his opening question: how the heck are you in fourth spot with a squad as thin as yours? Well, what's the secret, please, Mr. Moyes? That's the interview he wants to go and get.
Yeah. I mean, you've kind of, it's almost as if you've read my mind there, Pinky, because the next two subjects on my notes to discuss here are top 3 question mark and David Moyes, big praise due. So you've kind of covered those points there. But I will go back and ask the other guys about it. No, we're still waiting for David Moyes to come in, but let's talk about him first. Pinky's touched on it there, of course. This is a threadbare squad. This is a squad of 15 or 16 first team players at best at any one point, pretty much all points during this season. How much praise is David Moyes due for what he's done this season, and what exactly is this a pretty unique situation we're seeing, a manager getting so much out of such a limited squad?
Sorry, I had myself on mute because I'm just waiting for Mr. Moyes to turn up, who's likely to turn up very, very quickly.
I'll tell you what I'll do then.
I'll ask that of Rio and then come back to me because he's due on any second.
Okay, good stuff. Well, again, someone else reading my mind, because I was just about to say I'll throw that one over to Rio instead then. So, Rio, to you, David Moyes. Incredible performance to get so much out of such a limited squad.
Yeah, I mean, I can try and paraphrase Winston Churchill a little bit. Never has one man got so much out of so few. Because who would have thought at the start of the season, with such a limited transfer budget, a limited squad, that we'd be sitting 7-8 games left on the cusp of Champions League football? As Pinky rightly pointed out, had we beaten Arsenal, we'd have been sitting incredibly much more prettier than we are now, because the running's quite favourable. We'll take away the Leicester game. Mm-hmm. We've got Chelsea, who we all know I could call them the old, the thing that we call them, but I won't, because I don't want to get anyone into trouble. But we all know Chelsea have got a soft underbelly. They are beatable. Well, the defeat at Stamford Bridge during the season really did flatter them. Moyes has delivered beyond belief. So much so, I think Mr. Sullivan's panicking that he might have to try and squeeze a little bit of a spare change at the back of the sofa at Sullivan Towers to try and match the manager's potential European operation. He's bought incredibly well. He's coaxed a very small squad into an unbelievable position. Until the last two games, we developed a more resolute, a more defensively astute kind of side. He's introduced a player in Jesse Lingard, who was written off by many. I didn't want him. But we've seen what he's brought to this side, and he's had a different dynamic. Mm-hmm. And we've gone from being defensively resolute into going forward. At times, we're absolutely majestic. Not just tonight. That first 35 minutes tonight, he was an absolute force to be reckoned with. I haven't seen such a great attacking performance in that first half hour from one player since probably the days of Payet.
Yeah.
But he did it away to Aston Villa. He terrorised Tottenham for a part. He's got so much ability, and many, many people have written him off. But Moyes has got a tune out of him. He's got him back in the England squad. David Moyes has been absolutely amazing. From a man who pretty much nobody wanted he's made himself into such a strong position that he's virtually unsackable at the moment. And fair play to him, he's transformed this club.
Yep.
He's brought in an amazing backroom staff, which I think helps beyond belief. He's instilled a belief in the players. He's brought 2 very astute signings in the 2 Czech boys, who've brought a really good work ethic, not just into games, but into training apparently as well. Now, you can't fault them out at the moment. There's things that we could tinker with and kind of really, really nitpick about, but that really would be harsh on the man. He's done an absolutely amazing job, given the tools at his disposal. When I say tools, I don't mean the playing staff, because he's rejuvenated them. The tools and the monetary aspect from above.
Yep.
He's done an absolute wonderful job.
Great stuff. Do let us know what you think about David Moyes in the comments on YouTube, on the live chat. Do you think do you agree with Rio? Do you think he's done a wonderful job? Or do you think, we're giving him too much praise based on tonight's result alone? Let us know if you're a supporter or if you're a detractor. Let us know what you think. The boss has been speaking to Sky Sports following that win tonight, that 3-2 win at Molineux. And Gnome is going to tell us exactly what Mr. Moyes has been saying.
All right. Well, the first bit, which wasn't the first thing he said, but he was asked about Mikel Antonio, and he said his hamstring didn't feel right, and it will be assessed tomorrow. So we can confirm that it is Mikel Antonio's hamstring that led to his premature exit from the game. On the game itself, he said the commentator said something along the lines of fabulous entertainment. And he said, well, yeah, but for the manager, it was torture. We scored 3 last week. We scored 3 this. Unfortunately, we conceded a few as well. It was really open. Both teams could have scored more. And to revisit, he must have been watching us. He said it felt like deja vu. He didn't say all over again.
All over again.
We didn't manage it too well. We were going to try and make it 4 instead of settling for 3-0 at half time. Some of our play in the first half was scintillating. Lingard was fantastic. Antonio played as well as he has for a long while for his first half an hour. We're not quite sure on the injury. We'll assess it tomorrow. Looks like he felt his hamstring, so that's the comment there. He was asked about the race for the top 4, and he says, yeah, well, we'll have to go and take it on. Why not? I'm hearing pundits talk about West Ham having a chance at Champions League football. Nobody would have envisaged or mentioned that last season. Can we keep it going? Well, we're going to try and compete right until the end. So, he's obviously happy with the result. I think when the dust settles tomorrow, the big thing for us is going to be, what does that treatment room look like?
Yes, very good point. Very good point. With Antonio potentially, there it is. You've heard it first from Gnome. David Moyes saying about Mikel Antonio that he will have his hamstring assessed tomorrow. And he was taken off as a precautionary measure because it didn't feel right. He lasted just 34 minutes, Mikel Antonio, this evening, having made a really, really strong start. Of course, we didn't mention it before, but in the 3rd minute, of course, he hit the post. West Ham could have scored with our first attack. That Antonio effort that Patricio made a great save from. Pinky, coming back to what you were saying a few moments ago about Leicester. Now, we were bemoaning the fact that, had we beat Arsenal, we'd only be, 2 points behind Leicester and potentially could have gone above them when we play them this weekend. But of course, when we do play them, we can narrow the gap between us and the Foxes to just 1 point. Could West Ham finish in the top 3 this season?
I honestly think the top 3 is probably a step too far, because we'd be depending on a Leicester implosion to some extent. I'd settle for top 4. Crikey, I'd settle for top 6 if I'm being honest, because the start of the season, I think I was talking about 7th or 8th, somewhere around there. I just want us to be competitive in the league for as long as we possibly can be. I really don't want us just to fade and die, so to speak. Keep pushing those teams just below us, make them sweat. I mean, I can't be the only West Ham United supporter that's just loving watching Jurgen Klopp, sit there with his billion-pound squad, whatever it is he's got, you know, languishing in the table below us. You know, Jose Mourinho, you know, at Tottenham Hotspur and their billion-pound stadium that faces no Champions League football next season. You know, Arsenal, you know, with, you know, the so-called Bank of England club, you know, Chelsea Football Club bankrolled by a Russian billionaire and all the rest of it. And who have we got? Sullivan and Gold with a couple of corner shops, you know, and you know, I mean, you know, it's almost more West Ham than West Ham, if you get the drift. So, and I just wanted to make those so-called entitled clubs, the clubs that feel that they are entitled to those places in the Champions League or in Europe, to be sweating. You know, I just want them to be sat there with one match to go, going, we desperately need a win, whether it's Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, or whoever. And for Christ's sake, you know, we've got to get a better result than West Ham today to do it. You know, if we can do that all the way to the last game of the season, and we end up somehow finishing 7th, I'd say it's been a great season, because it means we'll have kept going every single week. And that's all I want to say. I was bitterly disappointed against Arsenal, the points we dropped. You know, I was scathing of our effort at half-time, despite scoring 3 cracking goals in the first half tonight, because I'm frustrated at our inability to put games to bed, purely because the manager hasn't been given the tools to do it. I think in his spell this time around with West Ham, he's extracted terrific value from the transfer market. He really has. And to be getting us to where we are, with when we're even talking about his 3rd possible, with the squad he's working with, you know, I mean, if the chairman's doing anything other than phoning in the day after most matches and saying great effort, you know, then the chairman wants shooting, because other clubs will be looking at that tonight going, they weren't anywhere near their best, but they've dug out a result. They've got a win. They've got a win. And, you know, you're looking at that tonight, and you're the German fella that's rocked up at Chelsea. He's had a disastrous weekend. You know, Jose Mourinho, he's sat there now going, you know, David Moyes could finish above me in the league this year. You know, there's some seriously supported managers who have been well backed, who are sat below David Moyes' West Ham United in the table, and they'll be sweating, because I don't know what the odds are in the sack race. You know, it's a pretty distasteful sort of, you know, thing that gets published most years. But
yeah,
who do you think's a shorter price to get the chop, David Moyes or Jose Mourinho? And at this point in time, I reckon Mourinho is probably a shorter price.
No
you know,
question.
and not many seasons you'd say that about a Tottenham manager compared with a West Ham manager at this stage of the season. So for me, just keep it going. If we beat Leicester next week, I'll stick my neck out here. If we beat Leicester next week, we will finish in the top 4. That's how big a game it is next week. If we beat Leicester, we'll finish in the top 4, because that win would give us such belief that we could do it, because it means we're beating a team higher up the league table than us. And that's what you've got to do. If you want to move up the table, you've got to beat the teams above you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Leicester, you know, is the last really nasty team we've got to play, is it? Have we got anyone else?
I think we've got Chelsea. I don't know if they qualify. Everton, maybe.
You see, it comes back to it. You beat Leicester, then suddenly Chelsea don't look so horrific.
Yeah.
And Everton don't look so horrific. You know, and I think we've got Saints on the last day of the season, haven't we? Maybe for once the fixture computer's been kind to us.
Yeah. Well, you know, I tell you, one team. I mean, we're talking about Leicester there, Pinky. One team the fixture list hasn't been particularly kind to is the Foxes, because their last 3 games of the season, they travelled to Manchester United. They then travelled to Chelsea, and the final game of the season has them lining up at home to Tottenham. So their last, I mean, they've got a relatively decent run in the next 4 or 5 fixtures after West Ham, and then they've got 3 what you'd probably class as absolute stinkers to
And
run the season off with. So if we can keep pace with them until then, the last three, I guess you never know.
Yeah, and the Chelsea-Tottenham games, I mean, it makes it interesting because they're going to have to be running hard, Chelsea and Tottenham, because they won't be sure of European football at that stage. And at those clubs, I mean, it's perverse. David Moyes might get the sack because we qualify for Europe, because the chairman won't want to fund the squad. Whereas at Chelsea and Tottenham, if you don't qualify for Europe, the manager gets the sack. I mean, it's quite bizarre, isn't it? That we're in this position, but you never know. 8 games to go. We've put ourselves in a good position. I mean, we were 7th this morning. We're 4th this evening. You take that, surely.
You certainly would. Interestingly, of course, West Ham will be going for the double against Leicester, and they completed the first league double against Wolves tonight since the 1922-23 season, the year we ended up at Wembley. In the White Horse final, the very first final ever held at the Empire Stadium. Of course, nearly 80 years since we've done the double over Wolves. So we're certainly breaking all kinds of records this year. We are running pretty late tonight because of the late kickoff, so I don't want to keep everyone on for too long. So we will wrap up fairly soon. Before we do that, we'll have a quick look, if possible, at the forums. But before we do that, I just want to go around the table quickly and see if we can get everybody's Man of the Match award. Gnome, I'll come to you first on this one. Who stood out most for you for West Ham? I should just point out that Sky Sports gave their Man of the Match award to Jesse Lingard for his goal and 1 assist tonight. But Gnome, who's your pick?
I think I'll go along with that. It wasn't a game where anybody sort of really stuck out. The stat for me was they showed how many kilometres, whatever they are, the teams had run. Apparently, Lingard was kilometres ahead of anybody else, and that as well. He got through a lot of running. Couple of times in the second half, I thought he might have done a bit better with the ball, but the goal was the first goal was a peach, and he's worked for the second. I'll give it to him, and that's the strength of that.
Okay, good stuff. Jesse Lingard for Gnome. Rio, how about you?
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Jesse Lingard again for me. The first our 3 goals today, he played an absolute key role in every single one. Fantastic Michael Owen-esque finish for the first. Brilliant piece of Berbatov-style improvisation for the keep the ball in play for the second. And Maradona-esque in drawing all those defenders away for Jared Bowen for the third. What more can you say? Jesse Lingard, take a bow.
Yeah, that's not bad going, is it, if you look at it from that perspective? Jesse Lingard for Rio, Jesse Lingard for Gnome. Pinky, hat-trick?
It's a clean sweep for Lingard. I mean, the hardest thing in the game to do is to put the ball in the net. And, he's done that himself tonight. He's helped others do that. And he looked very, very lively, particularly in that first half. Less impressive was the moment when he's caused himself some problems, in a little bit of petulance, dare I say it. But he did enough positive stuff tonight to get that man of the match. And possibly, and this isn't to damn him with faint praise, it seems strange after a 3-2 away win. Not many good performances from West Ham United tonight, if I'm being honest. Thought Antonio had his best game in a while, but there were 1 or 2 patchy performances tonight, and so Lingard definitely the standout player this evening.
Okay, good stuff. I'm going to give it to someone else, and it's kind of follows on from something that Declan Rice has said on Twitter. He's responded to a post from Squawker Football about Mark Noble, and Declan says, "No criticism, please. He was unbelievable tonight. Was my skipper." I kind of agree with that. I thought, but bar the tackle, or the attempted tackle, which was about 3 weeks late.
He's travelling now, yeah.
Yes, yes. He's still not got there, has he? Ahead of that first Wolves
coast. Yeah.
the years not the years showing there in that particular tackle. But I thought apart from that, Mark Noble was absolutely immense. Pinky, you pointed out one incident, I think it was in the second half, at the start of the second half, where he chased right the way back to that left back position to make that recovery tackle. Incredible stamina for someone of that age, and especially bearing in mind that he hasn't been playing on a regular basis this season at all. And also because I think he deserves it, because he's had so much criticism this year from people who should probably know better. You know, for those reasons, I will give it to our skipper, Mark Noble, who was definitely a big part of ensuring that we somehow clung on to win that game tonight. It finished 3-2. Can I just also, I would just like to say thank you to John Harrington for pointing out my dreadful maths calculation a few moments ago when I said that our last win in the 1922, our last double over Wolves in the 1922-23 season was about 80 years ago. If that were the case, I would only be about 30 myself, and quite clearly that isn't the case as much as I'd like it to be. Thank you, John, for pointing that out. It is, of course, 98 years ago, not 80 years ago. So thank you for that. Finally, this evening, we're going to have a quick look at the forums just to see what the fans of Wolves and West Ham are saying. We shall start, I think. Let's go to the Molineux mix, which Pinky has been keeping an eye on this evening, and see what the home fans are saying about that defeat tonight. Pinky,
I think it's fair to say they're not happy. You know, here you go. We gifted 3 goals by abject poor defending. You know, the only major fact to take from this game is that our defence is very poor for this level. You know, it really is post after post of negativity, I think it's fair to say. A couple of posts calling for the manager's head, which personally I think is harsh. You know, nothing though, from what, you know, my observation would be, they've been playing 2 years non-stop. They're exhausted as a football club, and I think the lack of empathy from the Wolves supporters on this particular website is poor show, actually. I think they should be getting right behind their team, because they've had 2 of the best years they've had in the last 20. You know, it's not a good end to the season for them. They're just running out of bodies. They're running out of legs, same as we are. But huge criticism on here for Wolves tonight. Their defensive effort is getting slaughtered. I don't think you'll have too much for the opposition view that's ridiculous. You know, so I don't think they are hysterical criticisms, but it is post after post saying they just can't defend, and you know, they can't all be wrong, surely. Okay,
thank you, Pinky, for keeping an eye on the Molineux mix for us this evening. Rio, as always, has been keeping an eye on KUMB.com, the KUMB.com forums match thread. You know, there were some angsty comments going on, flying around in that second half, but hopefully it's a little bit more positive, Rio, following the final whistle.
Yeah, huge sighs of relief. A lot of happy people now. I'd just like to point out a big thumbs up to Billy Dino. Before the game, he said, if West Ham win with Mark Noble in the side, I will donate £20 to the Bobby Moore Fund. And he's duly coughed up. So thank you, Billy, for that. James Pease put, what a fantastic result. The team is clearly running on fumes. It's looking like we're going to be playing a patched up squad until the end of the season. But the way we start matches is always going to give us a chance to win. 52 points, top 4, 8 games left. Brother Nero, only West Ham could win a game of football and leave you feeling so peed off and angry. What a shocking second half performance. Did we even keep possession for more than 40 seconds at any given time during that half? Hammer 1975 comes up with another great 3 points, but at what cost? Antonio looks likely to be out. Souček and Lingard were both limping at times in the last 10 minutes. And obviously we've got Rice missing. Not to mention my blood pressure. Leicester and Chelsea is going to be incredibly tough, and we need Ogbonna back as soon as possible. More. Wow, we feel better now that's over. Breathtaking counter-attacking first half. A lot more huff and puff in the second. It felt a little stretched. Grit and determination in both halves, though. shone through. So well done, West Ham. Arth has put these last 2 games have made me think that we've got the old West Ham back. I'd rather not have that, mate. And just to finish off, Hammer 92. This is all just so hilarious. Can everyone remind all your mates who support Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham that we sit 4th in the league? We've got a converted winger as our only professional striker. We've got a relegated Watford reject. The spine of our team are all now out injured. We've got the Messiah. We've got Messi Lingard, who was ridiculed over the past couple of years. Have I missed anything? We're absolutely massive.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rio, as always, for keeping an eye on the KUMB.com forum match thread. Of course, that thread will be open throughout the night and throughout the next few days and until people stop posting in it, quite frankly. So feel free to pop on over there and add your comments on what you've seen tonight. That is just about it from us this evening. I am going to, as he's been waiting there patiently, and the other chaps have been having their comments on the forums, I'm going to give the final word for tonight to Gnome. It's finished Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, West Ham United 3. Gnome, over to you.
What have I got to say? I mean, what can I say that I haven't already said already? It does age you watching it from time to time. It's one of those ones where you look back and you'll say, well, good result that, 3-2 away at Wolves. And, in a year's time. No, happy with the result. There were things about the performance we'd rather have not happened, but hey, let's spend 24 hours relaxing with our feet up in 4th place and in smug mode, and then switch that off for the rest of the week until the next game and see where we are after that. Let's not get carried away. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. Thank you, team, for your company this evening. That's the Pink Palermo and Rio and Gnome, as always. Thank you, gentlemen, for your company this evening. And of course, as always, thank you to everyone who tuned in to the live stream. We really appreciate your support, and as I always say, we love reading your comments throughout the game to let us know what you're thinking of what's going on. That is it. It has finished, as we said. Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, West Ham United 3. Some numbers for you. There are 8 games to go. There were 5 goals tonight. West Ham are 4th in the Premier League, having secured another 3 points despite 2 dodgy hamstrings. And we are, of course, once again, the first #1 team in London as we go into the weekend. That is it from us tonight. We shall be back again on Sunday. West Ham United versus Leicester City. 3rd v 4th in the Premier League. Who'd have thought that at the start of the season, eh? Until then, come on, you Irons.